What's up, my writing weirdos? Hey, it is BC here for a pop-up Saturday night live stream. Just welcoming everybody to my channel. I was sitting around and figured I was going to sit down and write before I went to bed tonight for a little bit because everybody's either asleep at my house or they've gone out to walk the dog, which usually takes like an hour or so to do. And I thought, what the hell? If I'm going to write, I might as well write with all of my weirdo writing friends and give everybody a chance to be here for some sprints and maybe get some writing done of their own. So basically, I am on my own tonight. I didn't feel like it was nice to just suddenly reach out to somebody and ask them to co-host for the stream tonight. So everybody in the comments, you will have to help me out just a little bit and give us lots of stuff to talk about. And I figured tonight we could talk a little bit more about show versus tell, since Wordstock was today and Wordstock 3 was all about show versus tell. Now, if you didn't have a chance to check out those videos today, I highly recommend them. You should definitely go and check out the Wordstock playlist that Story Detective Robert Jones has on his channel. He has made sure to get everybody into one playlist so that it's easy to find every video that came out today. And he also has playlists for both of the other Wordstock events that have gone on as well. So I want to give a shout out to Jennifer Brown, who is here tonight. She was not sure at first if this was actually happening or if it was a mistake. Nope, it is definitely happening, Jennifer, no problem. I'm very glad that I could give you something to do for the night. Alley Cat, it is good to see you for tonight as well. So basically, since I don't have a co-host going on tonight, I will probably be a little less chatty than usual. As you can see, I mean, I'm already ready for bed and everything. I've got a beer here to help me unwind. But in the meantime, I figured I had some work that I needed to do because when I write a story, usually I use either Google Docs or lately I have been using Wavemaker for my story writing. And in Google Docs, what I do is I just kind of stream of conscious write. I don't worry about any kind of formatting. I don't worry about bolding things or centering things or doing really even page breaks and things like that. So I am about 40,000 words into my latest work in progress that I am working on, which is the third book in my Paranormal Mysteries series / urban fantasy series. The two other books are out currently. So since I am quite a bit into the story, I'm wanting to start looking at it for publication, of course. Now I'm several drafts in at this point, and it's not like it's ready to go to an editor or even ready. It's right now it's going through my alpha readers phase. And so what I'm wanting to do is just, take a few minutes and actually put it into something. So I have an idea at this point of what my page count is going to be, because I'm going to have to start thinking about cover art coming up soon. And with cover art, I kind of need to know the dimensions that the book is going to be in the long run. So that's kind of what I'm working on tonight. Not really so much writing, but it is going to be productivity as far as my my current work in progress. So I figure what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll get started straight up with a sprint right away. It looks like we have a few people here already checking out the sprint for tonight. So let's go ahead and start with a 15-minute sprint. We will get this ready to go. And we will do this in 3, 2, 1, sprint. All right. That is the end of our first sprint. We did 15 minutes for tonight. So we had a couple of people pop in during the sprint. So let me know how you guys all did during the sprint. Like I said, I'm just formatting basically for tonight, but I was able to get through about 4 pages of formatting. When I do my formatting, I also reread over. I'll do some very, very minor edits, like if I notice that I'm missing a word here or there or something like that. But instead, I'm just rereading over it and, basically just changing all the formatting so that it will actually give me some indication of how large the final document itself is going to be. So let me go back through the comments here. Devin, good to see you. Thanks for popping in for my pop-up tonight. I appreciate it. Laurel, also really good to see you. Still waking up. I can understand how that is. Let me see here. Looks like Doll popped in as well and is saying hi to everybody. Hey, Doll, good to see you. Hey, Barbara, thanks for hitting the like button. I really appreciate it. Hitting the like button helps these streams get recommended to other people that are searching for writing and gets them introduced to our AuthorTube community, which in my opinion is like the freaking best community in the world. Like we're just so supportive and so welcoming of everybody. I love it when somebody says that, that they were just typing in how to write something or other or how to do something or other, and then my video came up as recommended. So that happens because everybody presses like and stuff like that on the streams. So good to see you, Bonnie. Hi, Adega, good to see you as well. I love that even though it's like a Saturday night, or at least it's Saturday night for me, I don't know what time it is for everybody else, but I like that even though it's a Saturday night, I'm seeing a lot of the same people that are usually on during my Friday day stream, which is really cool. Okay, so I had asked before we went in, that we would kind of talk a little bit more about show versus tell, since that was the WordStock 3 event for today, and I did have a video come out on it. So I had a couple of people ask questions about that, but first I want to show what everybody did before we get to those questions. Alley Cat got 208 done, very nice. And Zoe got some beta reading done. That's always good. You're one of the awesome betas, so that's good. Hey, Debbie, good to see you. Not much done. I'm penciling my next page, and the panel I'm working on is giving me issues. That's definitely a thing. I think we all hit that point where we're just like, this section is just screwing me up, and I don't know how to fix it, or I don't know how to or where to go with it, or how to fix it, or make it look like I want it to look. So I can understand where you're coming at there. It's frustrating, but that's hopefully you find a workaround during the stream, or hopefully you at least get somewhere with it. And if not, then maybe you just need to put it down for a couple of minutes and do something else during one of the sprints, and maybe that'll help out. I don't know. Devin, it's almost 12:30 a.m. where you're at. That I understand. It's not quite 9:30 my time. So Doll is editing as usual. Yes, because you're still prepping your story for the Otherworlds ink submission, right? I agree, Devin. This community is most definitely a family. Okay, so I am going to pop up to, Jennifer had a question. She wanted to know how I would handle show versus tell when the subject is of a traumatic nature, i.e. you could trigger someone. I'm actually really glad that you asked. There were some really good chat responses I noticed in the chat itself, some really good responses to it. And as Doll was saying, yeah, trigger warnings, simple. You show as much as yours willing to show. Not all writers are graphic when it comes to traumatic scenes. There was another one here. Laurel with 2 cents. Choose what you actually want to show. Maybe you're writing something that needs to show all the graphic details, or maybe it makes sense to show the aftermath. Doll chiming in, also agree with Laurel. Write what makes sense to your story. We cannot possibly predict who's going to read our work. And Jennifer, I do think it would make more of an impact on my story to show the aftermath. So I am glad that you did ask that question, Jennifer. So for a little bit of, it's no secret, I've actually talked publicly on the topic quite frequently. It's no secret that I am actually a survivor of sexual assault. And so I definitely understand the pitfalls of wanting to be able to showcase a scene or a potential traumatic scene for the purpose of the storyline, but also wondering about the trigger warnings. As Doll was saying, including that there are trigger warnings right away within a story is probably your best bet if you are going to show the scene or a portion of the scene, or any part of therein of the scene. What I actually would question is whether or not, since I don't know what you're writing, I don't know what the topic of the story is, I would question whether or not anything more than a summarization, I think would. Okay, so I kind of have strong opinions one way or another about it. So anything more than a summarization for me personally is too gratuitous, because I know what the feather light weight of triggers are. So that's something that may need to be addressed because of that. However, I absolutely definitely think that showing the aftermath of a traumatic situation, even though that can still be triggering, because you're getting your reader to empathize with your MC and with your viewpoint characters, that can still be triggering because those emotions are still tied and are still deep. But I think you would do best to do telling or evocative telling of the actual situation itself, but as lightly as possible. But do go ahead and show the aftermath of the situation. Do go ahead and show the psychological and the emotional impact of a traumatic situation. That is going to create empathy with your reader for your viewpoint character. And it's going to make the connection and the stakes of the story that much higher, in my particular opinion, if that makes sense. All right, let's see. Okay, Allie was saying, yeah, this community seems like a family for sure. I was surprised how nice it was when I first joined. It's nicer than the gaming community for sure. Allie, I can feel you there. I'm not a video gamer. I won't say I'm not an online gamer, because I do tabletop gaming online when I'm unable to do it in person, but I'm not much of a video gamer. And so the gaming community can be really weird, because it can be really accepting depending on the type of game and depending on the platform that you're playing in. But then otherwise, the video gaming community can be really harsh, especially just be really harsh to women. I mean, flat out. So that can be problematic. But the AuthorTube community, I was so surprised, because what little I knew about AuthorTube coming into it, which was very, very little, was basically some of the drama, and where some people were having issues and sniping at each other, and that was still very little that I knew. It was like the tip of the iceberg. But I think that the AuthorTube community on a whole has just been so incredible incredibly helpful and just so welcoming to everybody that I mean, I have yet to see it actually be an issue unless there were actual trolls that were stirring up issues. So, Alley Cat, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I've had friends who were survivors as well. I told them, and I'll tell you this too, the people who go through that are amazing and strong. I look up to you guys. No one deserves to go through that. I do appreciate that, Alley Cat. It was quite a very long time ago. Fortunately, although I was physically assaulted recently, there was some, there was some explicit nature to it recently, which caused a whole flurry of triggers, which just goes to show that survivors can and do feel the impacts of their trauma for years after. I mean, it's been decades since my initial trauma, and just the light incidents that happened recently, or the light triggers, were enough to cause just a cascade of issues for me emotionally and mentally, which then in turn turned into physical issues that I had to address. But fortunately, I have the tools, and I've had the tools for a number of years to be able to go through that. So good, Jennifer. I'm glad that my rambling, what I would show versus what I would tell versus what I would evocatively tell, was helpful. I can sometimes ramble, and I know that, and get off on weird tangents when I'm trying to think through my thoughts, especially live, which is why you guys will be so glad that you've never seen one of my unedited videos for like my normal Monday, Wednesday videos that come out. Those videos are so rambly and often so many tangents, and I have to splice them and edit them so much. There's probably for every 15-minute video that I do, and I mean that's the long end of my videos. I usually try not to go that long, but for every 15-minute video that I do, there's probably at least 2 hours of footage and I'm not talking like the B-roll footage and the extra crap. It's just 2 hours of me being rambly and talking all sorts of strange shit. If I ever actually put out anything like that, people would be like mortified. They'd be like, oh my God, she just loves to talk.
Where the fuck?
So, Doll, they are opening a bit more to this community, and although they are still afraid, there are some people here that make them feel like they finally found a home. I'm really glad to hear that, Doll. I don't think that you need to be afraid at all. I understand. Sorry, apparently, really loud motorcycle or something outside my house tonight, which it's not ours for a change, so that's kind of nice. But I'm really glad that there are people that are making you feel more comfortable. I know that you have had some traumatic experiences in the past with strangers and being open to strangers. So I'm glad that you've been able to find a safe envelope of people here within Author 2 that make you feel comfortable. And Bonnie, I'm glad that you have the same feeling as well. I don't think that either one of you have any reason to feel afraid. We all just love you to death. I mean, that's all there is to it. Alley Cat, I'm a huge gamer. Yes, it can be pretty accepting, but sometimes it's not. Gosh, crazy, harsh to anyone, really. You should see some of the live streams. People get crazy. Not drama, but sometimes ask too much for some people or just get annoying with things. Yeah, I think part of that is also a lack of boundaries that we can feel, because with like video gaming and things like that, we're right there in somebody's living room with them, which makes us feel like we're breaking down these walls. And once we feel like we're that intimate with a person, we feel like we can say or do just about anything like we would with a friend, but it's not the same type of friendship. Yes, it's friendly, but it's not a friendship thing. So Jennifer sent me a DM on Facebook. I appreciate being honest about your past. I know it wasn't easy. Thank you. That's not a problem. I will check out that DM, probably not right now during the stream, or I'll do it during the sprint so that I can answer you there. And yeah, it's not a problem to, for me to share it. Like I said, I've spoken publicly on the matter several times at different conferences, at different survivor events, at different retreats. I've gotten to a point in my recovery that it's relatively easy. I guess I should say it's never actually easy, but it's relatively easy for me to talk about, which is a lot further than a lot of survivors get. So kind of just like any support group or any support that you can get, support community that you can get, being able to talk openly or having somebody talk openly about something that you can empathize with it can be very helpful. So like I said, it's not easy for me to talk about, but I do, but I can, and so I do. I speak for those who can't. Alley Cat makes sense. Glad you have stuff to get through it. That's always helpful. Yes. The tools are there, and there are always new tools. There are always new therapies. There are always new personal developments that I'm always looking for in order to be able to better manage. Because like I said, it's been decades since the last large trauma happened. And so time has been both good and bad. So, okay, oops, I had to jump in the stream. There we go, hold on. Hey, CEO, good to see you. It's 12:30 a.m. here, so I had to at least pop in and say hello. I'm really glad you're spending your late night Saturday, at least popping in and saying hello. Laurel, this group is useful, nice, and supportive. I agree. It's very useful, very supportive. I get so much out of just the chats like here that it's just crazy how much useful information I get out of the chats, not just from the hosts or the co-hosts, but from the actual chat itself. And I love how we're all really good about, just giving our advice and telling each other our experiences. Allie, I actually have a character that is this abusive survivor of many types of abuse in my novel. I wanted to shed light on stuff like abuse and mental illness to show that no one is alone and such. That's really wonderful. So I'm glad that you're able to address it. I haven't been able to, I have no idea what that sound is going on in my background, but if you guys can hear it, I'm sorry, it sounds really wretched. It's like this high-pitched, weird, yell, like, ugh, sound. But anyway, just one of the annoying things that's still in my hearing range, unfortunately. It's a mixed blessing being profoundly hard of hearing, or or slightly deaf, whatever you want to call it. So mixed bag of what's still left in my hearing range and what's not in my hearing range. Nothing convenient is in my hearing range, but everything annoying is still in my hearing range. So that sucks. But yeah, it's really good that you're able to shed some light on the topic. I recently beta read for a book that is getting ready to come out, or has just come out. It's called In Plain Sight, and it's by Lori Holbrook. It was an absolutely amazing book talking about human sex trafficking, and it had a lot of potential. It's the second book in the series, but it can absolutely be read as a standalone story. And I knew that going into it, beta reading it was going to potentially be triggering for me, but I really wanted to be able to read it from a sexual assault survivor's position and be able to provide be that demographic for her. And I don't think that Lori actually knew. She may have, because like I said, I'm very public and very open about the talks that I've given, and the conferences I've spoken at and things like that on the topic, but I don't know that she knew for certain that I was a survivor when she reached out for betas. She reached out for betas, and I just happened to be included in the group, and I was like, yes, I will certainly beta read it. And on top of that, it just was an interesting premise for a book. So, Alley Cat, yeah, there can be a lot of personal boundaries that can try to be broken for sure. Yeah, in the gaming world, it is kind of crazy the way that comes up. Oh, God, StreamYard just drives me nuts the way it jumps. Thank you, Allie. I appreciate that. She says, I'm glad that you're doing better. Even if it's hard, you can continue to get through it. We can all back you up. Yeah, that's, I did it on my own for a very long time, not wanting to, stupid thinking and not wanting to be a burden to other people, but also just thinking I could just do it myself. And then I was like, nope, pretty much just got to do this therapy thing. And I got to tell some people about it. I got to let them into my world a little bit. So the good thing is I have a super, super supportive partner and a lot of close friends that know about the incidents, not in any kind of a detail or anything like that. But so I have a really good support system in place, but also good to know that my AuthorTube friends would also be here to support me. So Zoe writes, they have pretty bad anxiety, which has been heightened by the current state of the world, but finding the AuthorTube community has helped a lot. I think it's helped a lot of us, actually, Zoe. So, you're not alone in that regard. I suffer from anxiety as well. And while I can't, yes, the current state of events in the world has caused me anxiety, but mostly it's the stupidity that's caused me the most amount of anxiety because it doesn't logically compute for me, and that's what drives me nuts. But I think that no matter what, it doesn't matter what triggers anxiety. Anxiety is anxiety. So, but yeah, the AuthorTube community has really helped on, especially on the days with these sprints and the different streams. On the days where I'm feeling especially anxious, I can get on and I can be anonymous somewhat in the chat. At least I'm not seen or whatever. But even on the days where sometimes I have an overabundance of anxiety, I choose to become a co-host for somebody because it helps focus me and it helps streamline my thoughts, which helps calm down my anxiety. I'm sure those days I seem like a blithering idiot, but that's okay. I can be a blithering idiot. I'm everybody's favorite weirdo. So it's all good. Doll is very graphic when it comes to the progression of suicide impulses. I want to show it because I'm tired of the misconceptions about that mental struggle. Yes, I agree with you, Doll. I am also very tired about the misconceptions of the particular struggle with suicidal thoughts and suicidal tendencies. It's just, so I come from a family that has suffered from a long line of mental health issues, whether it's addiction or depression or bipolar disorder or anything along those lines. Pretty much if you can think about it, somebody in my family has had it. And I myself have gone through, of course, being a survivor, and I don't know if it's necessarily specifically related to me being a survivor or if it would have been my own natural depression, which using the term natural depression seems really weird, but that's just a facet of nature. Some people are naturally more inclined to depression. But yeah, I think that a lot of people have this idea that anybody that has suicidal thoughts or suicidal tendencies is a certain way in their depression, and it just isn't that way. It just isn't so. So yeah, I'm glad that you're willing to tackle that in your story. But of course, you are an Own Voices author, and I know that you do struggle a little bit here and there. So wanting to actually depict it and show the realistic way things are in that particular invisible illness is amazing. I tackled it lightly in my book Karaoke Jane. Mostly I made it amalgamate, I made analogies for the depression, or even when I did touch on suicidal thoughts. But I didn't straight up tackle it, which I should have, which I probably should have gone a little heavier on. But at the time I was writing it, it wasn't something that I could do for my own mental health issues. So I didn't end up doing it. Yes, Devin, human stupidity has definitely become a pandemic as well. There is so much stupidity in the world, yes. And it causes me an immense amount of anxiety. It's people and their stupidity is probably my biggest anxiety, like my biggest trigger for anxiety. Alley Cat, I agree with Doll too. As someone who's had friends who has had mental illness or addictions and have suffered through mental illness as well, sometimes it can be crazy when people, it can be crazy what people assume about it. I think I touched on that lightly. So Doll and I did an AuthorTube collaboration about ableism in stories. And at first I was going to do the whole video based on being hard of hearing and deaf, and talk about the stories that did it right. But I decided to take a much broader approach, which I may do a specific video about deafness at some point, but I decided to take a much broader approach, and mental illness was one of the disabilities that I tackled in that video, and talking about how people make assumptions that the way that they are living with their mental illness, whatever it is the same way that everybody else lives with it, or is the same, goes through the same process. And for a long time, I'll admit that I was ignorant about it as well. I made the same assumptions that everybody with depression went through it the same way, that and was like me and like the people in my family who have it. And then what really made it stand out, and the thing is that me and the people in my family, we do have the very similar symptoms and very similar reactions to things and very similar processes, probably because we're in the same family, and it's the nurture aspect. We tend to develop what we're around, what we see, and develop that way. But what pointed it out to me actually was a good friend of mine has bipolar, and they're an amazing person, and they don't give themselves enough credit first. I can just say that right off. But their struggles with bipolar disorder was so much different than someone in my family's that had struggled with it, that I realized the difference. I started to realize the difference between the mental illnesses, and that we weren't as cookie cutter as I had previously ignorantly allowed myself to believe, which again is just an evolution of thought. So then I started learning about all different reactions and things like that. So let me see. Jennifer saying, I think it has a lot to do with us being survivors, not all of it though. Yeah, I can definitely agree with that statement. CO, I once had someone tell me I didn't have enough life experience to be, what? That's just straight up stupid. Anybody can be depressed. It's a mental illness. It has nothing to do with life experience or experiences in general. It's a physical, chemical difference in our brains and our bodies. Okay, I agree with everybody here. Jennifer, I hope you slapped him. Alley Cat, sorry that somebody even spoke to you like that, even thought like that. It just, I don't know. Oh, that's annoying. That makes my blood boil. That really does. I I started suffering from depression as a preteen. So I understand entirely that it has nothing to do with life experience. It has everything to do with the chemical imbalances and also any kind of traumatic experience that's been had. So it can be experience based, but it doesn't have to be experience based. And even if we did go the route that it had to be experience based, what the were those people thinking? What I mean, just straight up, who knows what kind of experiences you had? And secondly, who knows how those particular experiences even affected you? Experiences affect everybody differently, so that just makes my blood boil. All right, Alley Cat, makes sense. Sometimes I feel like some schools should teach more about it. They do kind of cover it, but not everything. I'm happy they're getting better at it, though, and shining light on it. They are getting better at it, though. You are right. They are getting better at it. I worked in education for a number of years, and I can say that it is really hard to know what to address in school and what not to address in school. There are a lot of people that are of the thought process that certain things should be family only taught affairs and that other things are not. And so it can be hard as an educator to know what you even should address or how far you should go in educating a child. I am glad that they are starting to address it. It's sadly reactionary to the fact that more children are depressed and suffer from some type of mental illness or have gone through a traumatic experience. So I hate that it is a reactionary thing. It should be solely a preventative educational stance that we're taking on it. So anyway. Dahl says there's clinical depression, which is a chemical imbalance. It can happen to anyone. To me, it started when I was 12, not 13. Yeah. Clinical depression, which is part of what I suffer from, which is the chemical imbalance as part of what I live with. And then on top of that, I have trauma-based depression and anxiety. So many preteens fall into depression due to hormonal changes. It's a possibility. Yeah, mine was not hormonally based. I actually didn't really start going through puberty. I was very much a late bloomer, and I didn't start going through puberty until I was about 15 years old. So at the age of 12, when my depression spiked, which before that, we're pretty sure I had depression. I know I had anxiety and insomnia. I also had hypersomnia, where I was sleeping all the time sometimes. So a little bit of everything. But the clinical depression did once I went through puberty and everything and hit hormonal depression. Then after that cycled through, then we found out that I actually had a chemical imbalance, that there was, which of course can be rectified with medication versus say therapeutic, or can be rectified with pharmaceutical therapeutics rather than other types of therapeutics. So, okay. Well, I think we have talked a lot about that and not so much about show and tell, but hey, I don't mind. That's what I like about the chats is that, and that's why I so rarely come with an actual topic at hand. I had one just to kind of get things kicked off, but that actually kicked off a much better topic, I think. So, we all got to talk and we all got to vent about things and we all got to share experiences and stuff like that. So that's a good thing, for our chat in between our sprints. So that said, I do think it is time for another sprint. I know I have some more work that I need to get done tonight on this formatting. And so let's go ahead and put another 15 minutes on the clock and we will get this started for another sprint in 3, 2, 1, sprint. All right, so that is the end of our second sprint.
Where are you, dude? Fuck.
All right, let me see here. So how did you all do during that last sprint? I managed to get another 3 pages formatted, but there were a few things that I noticed there were a lot of missing words or a lot of places where I needed to mark it didn't make sense, and so it was awkward, so I was going to have to go back to it a little bit later. Aw, Steph. This entire stream just has tears streaming. I feel each and every one of you, and thanks for sharing your experiences. As spiritual beings living a human existence, it's nice to not feel so alone. Well, I'm glad that we can be here for you, as Theo said, so you're never alone. We're going to be here. So that is one of the greatest things about the YouTube and the AuthorTube community, is that we are here and we're just part of each other's lives. So I guess we just showed how close-knit and wonderful AuthorTube is instead of just telling. That is true, Theo. We did just show it. So I was in a pretty bad headspace earlier, and I'm thankful for the stream and everyone having such an important decision. You guys are awesome. Thank you, Zoe. I'm glad that we were able to help. If there's suddenly a lot of background noise during my stream, then you'll know that my partner and my roommate are both either awake and or home now. So they have a tendency to be incredibly loud. It's normally a good thing, and it's, I think, normally done for my deaf benefit, so that they're never like sneaking up on me, or I think that they're like I'm alone when I'm not alone and stuff like that. So I will definitely take one of those virtual hugs, Devin. Oh, skipping the stream. Hold on. Hey, Sarah Nichols, good to see you. I'm not sure that I've seen you on my stream before. If I have not, hello, welcome, Writing Weirdo. If you have been here before, I am so very sorry that your name just didn't click, or your avatar didn't click. So Doll was editing, but their mind is a bit out of place tonight. That's okay. It's a weird pop-up stream, and it's a weird stream where we've, talked about some very, very different things for AuthorTube, that's for sure. Laurel made a bagel and coffee and got dressed. Super productive. You adulted hardcore right there. Wow, Laurel, all that in 15 minutes. Yeah, I don't know that I could have done all that in 15 minutes either. Me getting dressed, I tend to drag my feet about it. I'm like, meh, and don't want to do all of that. Alley Cat, 134. Let my dog out to go to the bathroom, then let him in. But still got 134 words. That's good in between the letting him out and letting him back in. So Sarah just pulled out the laptop. That is good. You came in kind of towards the end of that sprint, but you are ready to go for the next sprint. That is so sure. All right, Laurel Webb. Started the process earlier in the chat. Well, that's helpful. If you were able to do all of that in 15 minutes, but you kind of got started a little early, it's okay. If you hit the coffee maker go and all of that stuff. So, okay, what we were talking about earlier was the show versus tell for the Woodstock Woodstock. There we go. Yeah, not Woodstock, Wordstock event that went on today. Let me know in the chat how many of you were able to catch some of the videos, or even all of the videos for today's Wordstock, and what you thought of the overall, or what you think overall of Wordstock and the event. I love when Robert hosts these, or when Robert puts all of these together. Because I think it's a really Marvel idea to take into consideration that everybody has something different to share, or a different perspective. But on the flip side of that, everybody also learns differently, so that everybody can get a slightly different way of something being told. So I think that that's really, that it's really cool that he's able to put this together, and that he knows so many of us in the AuthorTube community. And he's so helpful to so many of us in the AuthorTube community that all of us are willing to, practically all of us jump on the chance to be part of the Wordstock events. I know that the second one, we ended up having so many authors that wanted to do it that it ended up having to be a 2-day event, and it was just really exhausting for everybody to try and catch all the videos and and for poor Robert to organize all of it. It was just crazy busy. And so, he ended up having to cut it back for this month, but that he almost has enough authors that want to participate in June already, which is just crazy to me. Let me see here. Laurel, getting dressed is kind of relative these days. Yes, as a matter of fact, it is. I think I was in actual day clothes, like going out of the house clothes for about a grand total of 5 hours today. And then I was right back into PJs because I could be. And because I wasn't planning on, I had no need to go anywhere else or do anything else. And really, I had only gotten dressed and into day clothes because I felt I should get dressed and be in day clothes, because my partner had to go to a doctor's appointment this morning, so he ended up getting dressed, and I thought, oh, I should probably get dressed because he's getting dressed. And so I went ahead and got dressed, and then I was like, later on in the day, I was like, I'm not going anywhere, so why am I still dressed when I could be incredibly comfortable in my little kimono and my pajamas? And so I'm just comfy. I got my In Control kimono, and I'm all ready to go. So Doll checked out all the videos. I am not surprised, Doll, that you were right on top of that for today. I definitely checked out all of the videos just as soon as they went up. I was super excited to see them all. Devin, the karaoke streams are Woodstock. You're kind of right in that regard. The AuthorTube karaoke that I've been hosting along with my co-host Doll and Sako Toomey, and those very much are the Woodstock type of AuthorTube events. Laurel said that all the videos went up when they were going to bed, so they haven't watched any yet. Well, hopefully you enjoy them and you get a lot out of them. Like I said, the topic was show, don't tell. And I think there was just a lot of really, really good advice and a lot of really good examples of show versus tell in each of them. Doll, sorry, not sorry, but I'm siding with my writing brother on the topic, but I liked almost all the videos today. I've learned a lot. That's okay. That's okay. Don't have to be like total part of, you don't have to be like all the videos were amazing and all the videos were awesome, and so, and the point of it is that some of the videos won't be for everybody. So I think that's the whole point. So he writes, I'll have to binge them, watch them all tomorrow. Sounds awesome. It is definitely. It's definitely very, very cool event. Cio was able to watch Robert and Lisa so far, saw mine and Savvy's just before I got the pop-up notification. I'm really loving the advice in these. Yeah, me too. I learned, I know obviously the basics of show versus tell, and I know the difference between evocative telling and regular telling, even, which is what I covered in my video. And I think that I still managed to get something out of most everybody's videos today. Savvy's was really eye-opening to me because I don't write children's fiction and I don't write picture books. So it was more telling. It was more informative to me than I thought it was going to be, because I don't write in those particular genres, or in that particular genre. So it was interesting to see how show and tell is handled in children's fiction, which was really cool. All right, so speaking of some more really cool things, I think we should try and do another 15-minute sprint. Okay, doll, there was one video that was visual only and I was lost, so I can't comment on that one. Yeah, I can understand that. That's why I try really hard, doll, to that's why I try really hard, especially on my streams, to make my streams as auditory and visual as possible. That's why I read through every single one of the comments in the chat, and so it's a little less work that I know you or anyone else would have to do that has to use either a screen reader or a magnifier, or doesn't even have the benefit of those and only has the auditory, you know, the audio coming through. So, and in my videos, I've thought about that even more. Of course, I make sure all of my videos have closed captioning in them, but on top of that, I try to make sure that anything that is in the video has both an auditory and a vision, you know, and a visual part to it. Okay, back to doing the next sprint. Because like I said, so my goal for tonight was wanting to get at least the first 4 chapters of my book. Try to make sure that I get at least the first 4 chapters of my book formatted, or of my manuscript formatted for the night. And so that is why I'm like headlong rushing along into more sprints. But I figured no one minds if you were logging in for the night for the pop-up stream. You were probably wanting to get some writing done, or you were just bored as hell like I was and decided to just go ahead and hedge your bets and do some writing at the same time. All right, Laurel, have a good night at work. I'm really glad that you popped in for a little bit and you participated in the chat. And I am going to get super excited here for just a second because one of my brand new kittens has come out of the bedroom and all the way into the dining room. And all the way into the dining room for the very first time since Spot. Oh, if I can get him to just come over to me real quick, I can actually show the little booger on camera. Hold on for just a second and I'll try and grab him. Hey, you two. Hey, you. It's me. Come on. All right, hold on here real quick. Woo, woo. Door's opening. Somebody's getting startled. I figured I would show off. This is Spot. He is named after Data's cat from Star Trek The Next Generation. I've always wanted a ginger kitty that I could name Spot. And this, let me put Spot down real quick. And this is Domino. My partner named her after Domino from the new Deadpool 2 series. He's got a series thing for Zaza Beetz. So we figured she kind of looked like Domino with the little bit around her eye over here. Cute little tortie that she is. But we've had them now for a week, and we brought them home from a friend who they found them, the whole litter in a park. They found 4 of them in a park a few weeks ago, and they were very tiny, very, very tiny. And they're about 8 weeks now, I think. And so we decided to give 2 of them home because we couldn't decide between the 2. We couldn't pick. My partner really wanted Domino, and I really wanted Spot. So we ended up bringing them both home, and for this whole week, they've pretty much just been in our bedroom because they've had to acclimate to, we have 2 big dogs between our German Shepherd and the roommate's pit bull, and then we have a 3-year-old cat who, well, he's like most cats. He's a regular asshole, and he was never really socialized with other cats. He's only been socialized around dogs. Yeah, my roommate was just telling us that our asshole of a cat had decided to like take off because he's having a real issue with the kitties. I'm really glad, doll, that your hearts are so happy now with the kitties. They are adorable. They're really precocious. They've just been really skittish on trying to get used to the dogs and trying to get used to the cat, who is just being a dick about them. So I'm super excited because this is the first time that they have willingly came out of the bedroom on their own and come into all the way out here and into the dining room where I'm at. They're checking out the cat tree at the moment, which I'm sure my older cat is going to have something to say about that later. Right now, he's just sitting off to the side and eyeballing both of them. But, oh crap, they found something to play with. Hold on. No, you can't have that. Part of my recording stuff for my videos, they found my lavalier mic, which was dangling off of my tripod, which that's the last thing I need knocked over right now, and knocked into all of this stuff back here behind me and broken. So anyway, so let's get around to doing that other sprint that I said we were going to do before I got distracted by my own kittens and then made us all distracted by my own kittens. All right, so let's go for another 15-minute sprint. All right, starting in 3, 2, 1, sprint. All right, that's it for this last stream. 15 minutes down. How did everybody do? I can tell you that I got jack shit done because, well, one, I was distracted by the kittens being out here. And I was watching them and making sure that they weren't going to hurt themselves while they were just climbing around and exploring and everything. But we have so many boxes and everything right now that and like all this stuff behind me, and I was afraid that they'd like knock something over and end up hurting themselves. And then, so the other interesting thing is that we put the dogs outside so that, well, the dogs were just outside, and that's when the kittens came out. Well, the dogs, of course, saw the cats, and they wanted to be able to come in because our poor German Shepherd is just dying to be friends with the kitties. But the kitties are still a little leery because while they've been around dogs, they've been around small dogs. And a German Shepherd, who's very playful despite the fact that she's like 9 years old, is just a little too energetic for them and a little too big for them. And so that freaked them out a little bit. So while I was trying to get that all calmed down, the roommate went out our back door, and our black cat, who is not allowed out after dark because kitty curfew, can't find a black cat at night, and I'm just terrified. We live on a really busy street at this house, and I'm just terrified that he's going to get hit or that somebody's going to hurt him because he's a black cat, even though we do let him out from time to time during the day. And he does like to go on walkabout in the neighbors' backyards, but they're neighbors that we know, and they're the neighbors that don't have dogs. So he's not going anywhere too far because of all the dogs in our neighborhood. But anyway, he decided to take off out the back, and then we were trying to wrangle him, and then he managed to get out front of our yard. So we were trying to get him from there. It was a little bit of a chaos for that sprint. So for 15 minutes, I didn't get to do really any of my formatting, which I really wanted to do. But Key popped up. Hey, good to see you, Key. I am sorry that you missed the kitties. If they come back over in my general direction, I will maybe try and wrangle them again.
Okay.
Aw, thank you, Stephanie. If you have the time, replaying this stream is well worth it. Kitties were a bonus, too. I'm glad that the cats were a bonus. So, Alley Cat's got nothing, been playing video game. That's okay. That's okay. Playing a video game is good too. Doll, being a kitty mom is important too. Yep. You know, I'm very proud of my role as their designated human. So, Doll, my mind isn't in the right place to keep on editing. I had to do some meditation and calm down a little. That's perfectly fine. The 15 minutes worth of meditation, you know, that's a good amount of video, you know, it's a good amount of meditation right there. So, I mean, Allie's doing her own version of meditation over here, but still playing a video game. But did get 32 words in, so that's okay. That's perfectly good. You're multitasking. That's a good thing. I like to multitask all the time. It's usually not playing a game while I'm writing, but, you know, I do like chores and household chores and stuff like that when I'm writing all the time. I especially like to do it when I'm doing my laundry. I used to take my laptop, I used to take it to the laundromat once upon a time when I was trying to publish my first book and when I was writing my first book. And so now the idea of doing laundry and the smell of laundry automatically makes me want to write, which is a cool trigger. So. So I probably won't keep this stream going for much longer, maybe about another 15 minutes or so. Key, I too am a designated human. His name is Slick. He's a long-haired tuxedo kitty. Aw. So I have a long-haired black cat that has the funnest little, I think, the funnest little interesting bits about him. On the very tip of his tail, the very tip of his tail is all white. So he's this all black long-haired cat except for the very tip of his tail. And then the vet found this for him as an identifying mark for him. On the roof of his mouth, he's got a single black spot. like on the roof of his mouth, just behind his teeth. So I think it's funny that he's got this little white tip of a tail, but he's got a little black spot on the roof of his mouth. And he's just an all black kitty otherwise. But he's really kind of fun because if you ruffle his fur backwards, his undercoat is actually like this really, really charcoal gray color. And then on his forearms, of all four of his legs, his forearms are more like this chocolate brown. But it's a really, really deep chocolate brown color. You can kind of only see it when the light hits it just right. But when I photograph him, he looks just black. So, Alley Cat 107, true, it can be fun to multitask. If I didn't multitask, I don't think I would get anything done. I mean, that would pretty much be, that's my whole life is multitasking crap to get it all done. Like I'm usually watching a YouTube video at the same time that I'm writing or doing my marketing or, stuff like that. Okay, so I think we can maybe squeeze in one more 15-minute sprint before the end of the stream, and then I'm not going to hit my goal because there's no way I'm going to get this close. I only just surpassed the beginning of chapter 3. So I won't get 4 chapters formatted tonight unless for some reason there is absolutely nothing wrong that I need to add to or correct or that seems awkward and so I need to make a note for in my manuscript this time around, which I doubt it because that never happens, but we'll see. And we'll see what 15 minutes can get me and the rest of you. All right, so we will get started in 3, 2, 1, sprint. All right, that is the end of our last sprint for the night. I did manage to get through the rest of chapter 3 on my formatting and into about a couple of pages into chapter 4. Not exactly where I wanted to get to, but at least I did manage to get into chapter 4. Hey, Sage, glad that you had popped in to give me a like. I appreciate that. And to say, hey, it is nighttime here. It is actually just a little after 11 o'clock here. So, but I understand time zones, they're wonky, and none of us really kind of know what time it is anywhere. So I kind of stopped saying good morning, good afternoon, and good evening in a lot of the streams because so many times it's way off for everybody in the stream. But, you know, is what it is. The only time I say anything is when it's morning because I'm usually pretty tired and my brain doesn't work very well. And sometimes I'm grumpy. And so I feel like I should warn people that it's my morning. All right, so Key was able to find an inconsistency and eliminate it from their story. Awesome. That is a good thing. I, too, found an inconsistency while I was rereading over this to do the formatting. I found that I had totally inserted a whole character into the scene that I previously didn't mention until just all of a sudden my main character was talking to this other character, and I was like, wait a minute, that person's not in the scene. And I know what the inconsistency is because when I originally wrote the scene, I wrote the scene with this secondary character that was a woman. And I decided instead it didn't make sense with the storyline as I had written, or as I had done some rewrites to it when I had changed around a few things, because as a lot of people know, this particular manuscript has gone through several different rewrites already just for the first draft itself, because I decided to completely change the location and completely change my secondary some of my primary characters and some of my secondary characters in the story. So that was, you know, I'm still finding inconsistencies and still eliminating them somewhat. So, all right, looks like Alley Cat was able to get 120 words and began planning a story with one of their real life friends. Awesome. That is awesome. A lot of my real life friends are writers as well, and we've actually collaborated on stories in the past, short story anthologies. 2 of the short story anthologies that I have out are actually in collaboration with a couple of friends. And so when you get to read my short stories that are in those anthologies, you get to read their short stories as well, which was a lot of fun for me to do. Doll, yes, you do know what time it is everywhere. I'm convinced that at any point in time, I could just be like, I need to know what time it is in the Philippines, and I could just message you and you'd be like, it's this time. And I'd be like, okay. I don't know how you keep it all straight. I can barely keep it straight between the US time zones. I can barely keep it straight between what is Eastern time, Central time, Mountain time, Pacific time. So thanks, Steph. I am glad that I got some work done as well, and I am glad that you enjoyed the pop-up stream from the night. Like I said, it was more along the lines of just needing, I figured I was going to be writing, so why shouldn't I be writing with friends? I mean, I'm not that I was writing, I was formatting, but I figured I was going to be doing something related to my writing, and I might as well do it with friends and be able to talk with you all at the same time. Dick Moonstruck, good morning to you as well. It is nighttime here, and unfortunately, we are at the end of the stream for the night. I rarely go over 2 hours unless it's going to be karaoke, and then hell, I just wouldn't end karaoke if I didn't have to. I mean, I would do karaoke for forever. I would do the stream for longer too, but my partner is finally awake and my kittens are feeling adventurous and checking out the rest of the house. So I think I'm going to go and do like the normal human social interaction, engage in relationship mode for a little bit, since I was able to get some writing done, get some work done on my manuscript. I may let myself finish formatting the last little bit of chapter 4, since I did set that goal for myself tonight, but I may not either. starting to feel my beer a little bit, feeling mellow, want to spend some time with my partner, you know, even though he's playing video games at the moment, but, you know, whatever. But thanks, Dick. Yes, I did. I had a very productive day. I was able to get quite a bit of writing done today for a Saturday. So that's unusual for me because usually I don't do any work on Saturdays, but today was word stock, and so I did a lot of watching of the videos and trying to comment there, taking in a lot of that information, and then you know, I did a little bit of writing, not a whole lot of writing, but I did a little bit of writing on some of my Gaelic translations, just making sure and going back and researching and making sure that some of my Gaelic dialogue that's in my story was accurate, and then double checking also because there is some Korean in my story as well. So I went and double checked some of the Korean and some of the translations for it just to make sure I'm not saying anything offensive or anything weird. Of course, I will have beta readers, and I will also reach out to students and professors about having them check up on me as well and make sure that it is all good. All right, Alley Cat passed 2,000 for their goal for the day. Yay! Okay, I'll stop now. I'm getting to the point where I'm going crazy and weird. Weird is always good. Weird is always good. Like Stephanie says, we love your weirdness. And it's always welcome on my stream. You can always be crazy and weird on my stream. So, but with that, I am going to sign off for the night. And I want to thank everybody for coming along and spending the evening with me, even though it's just a pop-up stream and, just something to kill the time and to be productive while I was doing it. So Doll, I've lived in several places. I'm also a traveler, so that's how my brain adjusted to the many time zones. That makes sense. I know you travel for work when you are able to work, not during the current situation, but I know that you do travel a lot for work, so that does make sense. Okay, so anyway, that's it, my writing weirdos. I want to say thanks so much for coming to the stream tonight. And if you want to know more about show versus tell, my word stock video did come out today and is on my channel. You can go to Story Detective, Robert Jones's channel, and check out everybody else's word stock videos as well. They were really informative, and I know I enjoyed watching all of them. So anyway, what I want to say is thank you so much. Good night to all of you. Hugs to my kittens. I appreciate that very much. And I will see you again at next week's stream, which is usually on Fridays from 3:30 until 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. You can always check out my videos, which I post every Monday and Wednesday. And then, of course, you can find me at BC Brown Books at pretty much all the socials. So I will chat with you all later, and have